Well, welcome again to another episode of Upon Further Review, week number 9. This is the show where we will review last week's Friday games and even Thursday games. Now that we've had some Thursday games here, we will crown a player of the week, have some honorable mentions, and we will preview week 1 of our districts as well here. And Ray Halbrook from Livestream STL. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. We've got the panel today here. We've got Jeff Whitener is out, but we do have a fill-in today here. BCAP. BCAP is in the house. How you doing, BCAP?
Hey, it's good to be here. If you're expecting all those random notions and thoughts that Jeff also brings in,
That's right.
you're
That's
looking
right.
in the wrong spot here.
Hey.
We're just going to talk about what's happening and what happened this past
That's
weekend.
okay.
Not a lot of random stuff.
Nothing wrong with that.
You will fill in admirably.
There you go. Matt Bates in the middle there, the monkey in the middle. And without further ado, we are going to jump right in here to the week 9 results. Last week of the regular season. Here we go. It was, man. We start off with Thursday night blitz, Friday night blitz on a Thursday. Grandview 42, Crystal City 12 on Livestream STL. We have DeSoto 35-26 win over Herculaneum on Livestream STL. That was our Friday night blitz game of the week. Our Friday night blitz on Livestream STL2, Oakville 10-7 win over Northwest. That was a major defensive battle there. Jackson 62, Festus 21 on Livestream STL3. In other games here, St. Vincent 43, Jefferson 8, Poplar Bluff 30, Hillsboro 21, Fox 26, Ladue 20. Seckman 56, Webster Groves 23, Valley Catholic 14, St. Pius X 7th, and Eureka 49, Pattonville 25, Windsor 46, Bayless 6, and rounding out things here on Saturday, Perryville beat Cuba 56-14. And let's get started right away here with our Thursday night blitz game here. The Grandview Eagles with the big win over Crystal City. And Matt, you were at the game, but so was Cap. So who wants to take this one first?
I was at the game as a fan, so let's clear the air on that real
Okay,
quick.
there you
So
go.
that was one of the few times I was able to just go to a game, sit amongst the crowd, and once again, let me say this. A lot of the parents, starting with the Martins, the Reinhardts, the Kimes, on down the line, very complimentary of what we do here at Livestream STL.
Yeah.
So a shout out to all of them.
Absolutely.
That, when we're up in the booth doing our thing, that, you might have a parent or somebody like, shake, raise a hand, something like that. But being amongst them and chatting with them during the game, I mean, that was something special. But it also gave me a chance to just like watch, because that way I could see the line play up front. You give me a Tucker Reinhardt, you give me an Ethan Smith. At Class 1, I will take those guys. You blend them in with any Class 5, Class 6 team, and they won't miss a beat. And I got to tell you, though, there's like a lot of love in this game to give around because, well, first of all, the score kind of knocked me for a loop. If you would have told me Grandview was going to beat Crystal City by 30, I probably would have looked at you with the same look as if you would have told me Crystal City would have beaten Grandview by 30.
Right.
The game by Rico Pastrana in a losing effort, the 16 for 112, 2 TDs. When you get to the small ball, I call it, where when you're looking at the decimated rosters of like 25 kids like on each side, to where you're playing everything, every down, every game, every minute, to where if you lose somebody, you're losing a big piece. Which I'm going to get to a guy here in like 2 seconds. His name's Wyatt Kime. Just coming back into the season on his senior year, had a couple carries. You were seeing him; it was like 2 for 25, and then he takes one out on the far side, gets hit kind of like in the hip. The way he came off the field, I thought he had a busted rib.
Wow!
To where I'm like, this was bad news, because he was on the bench for the longest time, and with about 3 minutes till halftime, I saw him making his way to the locker room. And I got to tell you, this was a kid that he was like in a bad way, to where, as a guy that had his career cut short, his second to the last game of his senior year, I totally felt that, because now it's like, where all these schools now have the potential to play a playoff game. You just don't know when your last game is going to be.
Right.
And there's a couple other guys that we're going to go through here in a little bit too, where I just really hope they haven't played their last game. And if they did, a hell of a job that they did. But man, Grandview to go to 6-3 with Poole, Walker, the job they did up front. talk to us, Caps, about what you saw in the booth, because I really thought Grandview, in a game they needed to take to somebody that was on the same level as them, I thought Grandview did that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what they wanted to do. I felt like they were able to accomplish that game. I think going in, I was still kind of taken a little bit by the fact that it's almost like a reversal in the last 2 years. We talked about it a little bit on the broadcast, just the notion of last year it was really Crystal City in this position, and Grandview was kind of taking their lumps through the year. And then just literally 1 year later, it's the complete opposite as far as, record wise. But I think what really stood out is we talked about, we expected Keim to come out and do his thing in this game. And so when he left early, the question became who was going to step up, and really it was Brock Poole. I mean, he did everything that was needed for that Grandview team, and I thought really it was kind of one of those, the score isn't really as indicative as well as I think, Crystal City played. I think they just weren't able to capitalize and get the ball in the end zone, or we might be looking at a game that's really, a one score, maybe a 10-point game versus the way it turned out. And on the flip side, a lot of credit to Grandview, because every time they were inside the red zone or pushing that, they just punched it right on in. And that's ultimately what kind of took place on that. But for me, I mean, you just look up and down. This was just a lot of fun for a Thursday night game. I think sometimes I understand why they don't do this like as much, because it's a school night, all that fun stuff. But I'm like, man, how fun was it to come out on a Thursday night? One, it was just absolutely gorgeous for football that evening. And it was just like, it was a beautiful senior night. They were able to honor all their seniors, and then to go out and put on that type of performance, I think just really gives me a lot of hope and excitement for what's to come for them, in the sense, not just, years down the road, but even in the playoff run. Like, they have a chance here to do something I think that they haven't done in a good little bit, and it's special.
I was just thinking the same thing, not so much the long term, but even the short term with this playoff run as well, too, that I'm jazzed to see what the Grandview Eagles bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely on the rise here. Let's take a look at our Friday games here for our Friday Night Blitz game. DeSoto 35, Herculaneum 26. My, oh my, that was a very interesting game to start here. We come in and we see Herculaneum's up 14-0, I believe, if I remember right, off the bat. Or I know they were up 2 scores, and we were looking at each other like,
they were up
what in the world?
20-8.
20-8, yeah, at one time as well. So it was just kind of one of those things. It's kind of like, okay, this isn't supposed to be happening. I really kind of felt like, DeSoto had the upper hand for this particular game, but, DeSoto did rest a few guys. And so that kind of, tilts the scale a little bit, evens things up. But, second half, after, I was able to talk with our player of the week. So shameless plug, we'll have our player of the week from DeSoto. So wait for that. But the, being able to talk with them, they weren't fazed by that. They were just kind of like, hey, we just got to get back to work, get our work boots back on. And second half, they were able to take over.
Well, being on the broadcast with you there, partner, to me, it was one of those games where it seemed like DeSoto took advantage of every opportunity that Herculaneum gave them. Again, Herky was up 20-8. Turnovers killed them. I don't know how else to put that other than, you don't want to make anything out about officiating, but there was really, again, it could be one of those weeks if there was somebody from Misha doing some oversight. I'd like to see how that would shake out. Man, oh man, the killer right now, the thing I've got highlighted is just Keaton Reeves. That
100%.
You now see him go down the way he came off the field, or lack thereof, because he couldn't put any weight at all on his left ankle after he got taken off. And basically they just threw him down on the sideline because he couldn't go any farther. And after the game, you see him on crutches, and you're just like, man, oh man. I got to say, I mean, a lot can happen in a week.
Sure.
But when you come off on crutches,
right,
you don't know if you've played your last game or not. And I'm sure he's going to put I don't know how many hyperbaric chambers Herculaneum's got at their disposal, but I'm sure he's going to be in one every day. But man, oh man, when you take him, let me just say this. If you take him out of the equation, like you saw in the fourth quarter with what their offense would look like without him, I don't see Herky going any farther.
Right.
Now, that's no disrespect to Chase Lubert or anybody else that wants to man the helm in the quarterback role. And there was a comparison we were talking off air a little bit ago, is that I see that same thing even at the Class 6 level. If you take a Cohen Stark out of a Northwest offense, what does that offense look like? So to that narrative, when you take a Keaton Reeves out of a Herky offense, what does that offense look like? Because your quarterback essentially is the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah.
Right.
And, whether it's Reeves and Stark being like one of your leading rushers, if not the leading rusher on the team, he's also the guy slinging the ball as well, too. So can your plan B hit Omarion Frazier as well as you can hit a Tanner Duncan or on down the line? Because if you're just going to leave it up to a Clark Struckoff who had 24 carries, 213, 4 TDs, I got to tell you, if you're defensive coordinator X on the other team, all you're going to do is you're going to load the box and you're going to make whoever quarterback B is, in this case Chase Lubert, you're going to have to beat me through the air somehow, because we're teeing off every play, and that's what I saw in the fourth quarter, to where, I mean, really, as a guy that has been out there on the field with that stuff, where it's just like, I don't like seeing anybody being teed off on, but you know what? That's unfortunately that's where it's at, though, because if you're going to wash, rinse, repeat on the offense, we're going to wash, rinse, repeat on the defense. Somebody's got to change something up. And unfortunately, Herky had to take one on the chin, but you know what? I think, as you had asked me, I think at various points where you were like, if Herky was winning by 20 points or if DeSoto was winning by 20 points, would either one of those knock you over? No. But seeing DeSoto come out by 9 and the way they did it, they sealed one up on Herky and did what they needed to do. And that win helped them in their Class 4 standings.
Excellent. You got anything you want to say there?
No, I mean, the only thing, I just went back, obviously being at another game on Friday night to watch the replay. My heart sank for Reeves when you see that, because you know what it means. And just kind of to piggyback a little bit on what you were saying, Matt, just some of the reps that unfortunately your second string doesn't get to take, especially at the high school level, because we got to remember, a lot of these kids, even as seniors, I mean, they're still developing, they're still learning, they're still growing. And so your number one guy, it's really, really important that he still gets those reps in practice and is working. And so you're never trying to think about what his life look like beyond a Keaton Reeves. And unfortunately, Herky's going to find that out. Now, my prayers go out to him, and maybe there is this recovery that can come, because this team does look different with him behind the helm. And a lot of credit to Clark Struckoff. I mean, what he was able to accomplish, almost 9 yards a carry, even
insane.
In that is, you want to ride somebody like that in a football game, but it becomes infinitely more of a challenge when you've got 9, possibly even 10 men in the box that they know where the ball is going to go. It's just a matter of which direction. And you signify that by your offensive lineman right off the snap. So there's not really a lot of guessing that has to come in for the opposing team. And I think other teams going into the playoffs aspect of that, they're just going to key on that. And if Reeves isn't in, their whole game plan is exactly what you said. You're going to have to throw it to beat us. And if you can't do that, there's going to be a lot of problems. And so there's just a lot of question marks for me moving forward for Herculaneum. And as far as DeSoto, I think it's just a credit to, obviously their players doing what they needed to do. And I think a great job by the coaching staff there to just say, hey, we're going to come out, and regardless of who's playing, who's sitting, whatever the case may be, we're going to give our best effort. And it turned out, they were able to claw back in this. Now, I think, could have things looked a little bit different at the end of the game had Reeves still been there? Sure. But he wasn't. And so you get that win, and like you said, that's a big win.
And real quick before we move on, Ray, I mean, when we talk about the parity and, when you look at other teams, how they match head to head, you look at DeSoto, if you would have told me on paper Struckoff was 224 for 213, I would have told you how much did Herky win by.
Right.
But this is also a DeSoto team that held Wheeler to less than 100 yards.
Yep.
To where, like, sometimes the math doesn't math.
Right.
That, Struckoff runs for 213, DeSoto finds a way to beat Herky by 9, to where you just, it's mind-blowing.
Let me just say this right here. Every single team this season has gotten way better. That's including Crystal City. That's
100%.
including St. Pius. That's including Herculaneum. That's including Grandview, and all the way up. Everybody's gotten better. The competition's gotten closer. And I really feel like Jefferson County football as a whole is on the rise, and so I'm excited about it. I really am. So let's take a look at our next game here real quick. That is the Oakville Northwest game there on live stream SCL2, Oakville 10, Northwest 7. We had Scott the Freak Lotto over there on that particular game, but man, that game right there, that was a slugfest. It was Oakville's defense trying to do what they could against the Northwest offense, and they come out victorious.
We said this off camera again, Brian.
Yeah.
I said, you see the power of a field goal. A lot of teams in Jefferson County don't want to hang their hat on one because they want to figure out if we're at the 20 or closer, this is us in the red zone. We got to figure out how to put points on the board. The field goal is a thing.
Right.
It allows you to get at least 3 as opposed to none. And again, if it's 4th and 7 from like the 15 and you're like, man, I know we can punch this in. I know you got a guy in your back pocket that can bang one through. But you saw it was 3-0 at the half. Points off of turnovers. They trade touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Guess what's still hanging out there? The 3 points you can't count for.
Right.
And that's the difference in the ball game. But again, it's one of those things, again, you see on paper, the Oakville offense, you held them to 188 yards of rushing, and that was on 41 carries.
Right. 120, which came by one person.
And 98 yards passing.
Right.
You would think that should set a Northwest team up for victory. But, I mean, they kept Stark at bay. So, again, I mean, it's like when you go into a game plan, like, Larry Bird's not going to beat me. Jordan's not going to beat me. Gretzky's not going to beat me. Where you find the one guy, and in this case, it's Stark. You hold him in check, see how the rest of the game, fares out. But, I mean, you, to your credit on Northwest, you did a lot of favors to Oakville. You on a offside on a 3rd and 4. I think you hear me game after game when it's 3rd and shorter than 5. Watch for a hard count, something like that. But don't let the INT by Omarion Frazier in the end zone go unnoticed either. Thrott's an Oakville attack. You look at Hartle, the 2 plays that he made right there before halftime. 2 big ones, and I call it the Gavin Feltman, where you take like one series of downs and you have one guy that like dominates that whole series. To where Hartle to me had a Gavin Feltman, but it was so close to halftime, Northwest couldn't do anything before that. But the 2 big runs by Barnes and Anderson, especially like on a 4th and 5, where you're just like, sets Oakville up for that final score. But I mean, again, this was another one that was in the balance to me where, the pendulum could have swung either way. And when it did, Oakville had a field goal game.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it best. I think the biggest turn was really those 4th down runs. I mean, it really just kind of was like the back break. You could see it unfold in that regard. I mean, Northwest defense, you got to give a ton of credit to. And the fact that, again, they only gave up the 10 points. It was just really, really unfortunate that I think Oakville's defense came to play a little bit more in this game. I mean, I saw the score 3-0 come across at halftime, and I was like, this is not what I expected.
Not
right.
at all.
Like,
No,
I thought both of these teams would really put up some points against each other. I thought it could have been one of those slugfest style of games, and really who had the ball last, which ultimately, it was kind of almost opposite of that. And so if you love defense.
To the point of if Oakville kicked the field goal to win it,
right.
would that have surprised you? More
no.
so than
I mean, I yes, to a degree, in the sense, because that's not what you typically see, unfortunately. But when you start looking, and especially when you're talking about Class 6, most of those schools have kicking games for these games like this. And this is not a disrespect towards Northwest on any level. I'm not trying to throw that out there, but it's like, when you start playing at that level of competition and Northwest having the season that they've had, it's like you would think like, hey, let me call up my soccer coach and go, who's got the leg? Let's get him out here. Right. Let's figure this out, because the forethought would be, I'm going to run into a game where, 3 points is huge, and you can trust your offense all day. And I think, there's something to be said for coaches that really do go out there. But when you're talking 4th and 7, and like you said earlier, I do have a play, but everything's got to go right for this play to work. to get me the 8 yards I need, or I've got this kid I know that can kick it at least 40 yards. Let's put him out there. And again, I understand at this level, there's a risk in any play.
You're right.
I mean, don't get me started on that. Like some people are like, yeah, well, the snap back to the holder could go awry, all this stuff. In high school, a snap in a shotgun formation goes awry a lot more than you want to give credit for.
I was going to say the same thing.
It happens. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I would, in some situations, instead of going for it, give me the points, because even if it doesn't really necessarily like win the game for me, it also doesn't provide momentum. Uncle Mo in those games is huge. And when you stop a team on 4th down, I don't care if it's in the first quarter or the 4th quarter, that momentum shifts and the other team gets a boost because of that.
It's points off of a drive, to where, as opposed to I made a drive and I didn't get anything on it other than turning the ball back over to you. At least I hang 3 up. You've got to account for that in some capacity.
Right.
To where that's what I was saying. Like the narrative of 3-0 at halftime was a shocker.
Right.
But now after you come out in the second half, you've got to account for that score to now go on top of. You basically got to put 2 scores up to account for that.
Yeah, and again, like I love, like don't get me wrong, I love what Coach Gerling and all of them are doing at Northwest. Cohen Stark, I think, is done tremendous things for that program to help them get to where they are. And I know it's been a while since they've felt this much excitement there at the Lions Den. And I'm not trying to rob that, because I think they have an opportunity going into the playoffs to really get some things rolling and moving and can make some noise. Yeah. But again, I'm one of those guys that I'm not, yes, we're going to look at this next game and go, hey, we got to focus here, win here, whatever that looks like. But I'm also starting to think like, hey, if we do really do this, or we're starting to build a program that's going to be perennial contenders in this realm, I've got to start thinking about these small things as a coach as well, because you are going to run into teams like Jackson. You're going to run into teams like CBC eventually down the road. That kicking game could be the fact in whether or not you go to the Final Four or you're progressing to the championship game in the Final Four.
Absolutely. And speaking of Jackson, we'll talk about that game there. Jackson took on Festus on live stream STL3 here. It was a close game for about a quarter and a half.
Yeah.
And then it kind of unraveled for Festus. But Jackson, the Juggernaut, wins 62-21 on live stream STL3. BCAP was the producer over there, so I'm going to turn it over to him real quick. You had the luxury of Greg Allen and Brandon Geiler, and great guys over there, and
absolutely
fun game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to listen to, and obviously just being producer, I really got to watch it, kind of almost like that spectator to a degree, a little bit more than that, but just kind of looking through the camera there, and I think the way this game started, I think it stunned everybody. I mean, the fact that Williams was able to take the opening kickoff back, I believe it was 93 yards for a touchdown, stunned everyone. I think themselves included.
Yeah.
I would find out later in talking with one of Jackson's radio guys that was there that is the second week in a row that Jackson had let up a special teams touchdown like that. And
there's a chink in the armor.
Right. So they were
not
let
that
happy.
Cat out of the bag.
Yeah, right.
The coaching staff was not happy at that. And then the fact that they returned a second one later in the game was really just like, I was like, okay. And to your point, Ray, I mean, you're talking little over 10 minutes to go in the second quarter, and we're looking at a 21-21 score. And I'm going, there's no way this is going to, like in my mind, I'm going, there's no way this is going to happen. At what point does Jackson just wake up? And what I think kind of just dumbfounded me a little bit was the fact you watched Festus go on a 12-play drive where they had a great mix of run and pass. They scored this touchdown, and at that point, I think it put them up 14 or tied the game at 14. And then Jackson comes down, scores almost immediately. I think it might even have been a one-play score to go up 21-14. They return the kick, 21-all, and I'm going, okay, Festus has figured something out here in this game plan. And then it was just like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the thought process was. But Jackson, again, quick drive, get into the end zone, and I think it put a little bit of maybe trepidness into Festus. And it was almost like they kind of sat back on their heels and started thinking like, hey, I need to just control the clock, which I understand. When you talk about Jackson's offense, and I'm not even going to list the plethora of guys that are going to Division I schools and all that fun stuff that are there with them, they're a tremendous team. So, yeah, I understand the notion of let's keep that offense off the field, but at what cost? Because you had a quarterback for Festus that was slinging the ball. He's accurate. He's accurate on the move. And he was actually doing damage. And that offensive line for Festus, I want to give a lot of credit to them. They were holding up well.
They're one of the best. Like, I mean, we covered Class 6 to Class 1. And yeah, to that point, I was just going to say they are, to me, from 5 to 5, from left to right.
Yes.
One of the best in the area. To ask you a question, since you were there at the game, because, me watching the replay back, my question to you is once it got to 21-21, to where, yes, these guys were like punching in bunches and they were back and forth, would it have surprised you, like, at that game, if I would have said it was going to end up 65-62, would it have blown you away?
No, because of the way they were just going back and forth. I thought,
but would it have blown you away more if I would have told you the score was going to be 65-21?
Yeah.
And Festus wasn't going to score again.
Right. I didn't anticipate that. And I think that's what kind of shocked everybody was the fact. Now, obviously, Festus had some big turnovers that ended up really costing them in the long run, because a fumble turns into a one-play touchdown on the next possession. Like, it built very, very quickly. And that's what this Jackson team is built to do. Like, they pounce on you quick.
Yes.
And you make one mistake and all of a sudden you saw it. You go from 21-all, it was 42-21, just like that.
Yeah. We were in the booth and Ray's like, update. And I'm like, what? Well, Jackson Festus, it's like 42-21. And I'm like, that happened. That escalated quickly. Where, but that again is another thing that Festus hasn't seen, which is a team that, well, first of all, Festus doesn't make many mistakes first and foremost.
Right.
And the thing that we had seen, like in that Farmington game, was Farmington was just kind of taking advantage of any opportunity given to Festus, or that Festus gave them. They capitalized on it. But Jackson, Farmington could make like an 8-minute drive.
Yes.
Jackson was like, yeah, we'll take it one play, 17 seconds. Now soak on that for a little bit.
Right.
But we can do that multiple times to you. That's where you go like to a bigger boy football, to where when, you look at the Festus program, who's one of the top echelon programs in the area, and the way they basically just got manhandled. And again, yes, they were playing 2 classes up. But to me, I think you could take that Festus team and you could take and copy paste them in any class. They would be more than competitive enough. But I just don't think they've seen enough teams where when Festus makes a miscue or a toe stubbing, where all of a sudden points are put back up to where like, well, wait a minute, what just happened?
Yeah, and I mean, again, I will give Festus all the credit in the world to go and have Jackson come in on senior night and play them. I mean, that's winning football. I mean, they are 7-2 for a reason. And they're going to be the juggernaut of their class. There's no doubt about that. Like, I don't want to talk like Festus is a bad football team. They ran into arguably one of the best teams in Missouri.
This was their first playoff game.
Yeah.
Now they're going into a bye week to have like a round 3 game, not really like a round 2 game. Yeah, their last 2 weeks there. I mean, when you face Farmington and Jackson and those are no powder puffs by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I mean, you had a Jackson team who's 9-0 and you've got them 21-21. And essentially it was your game to lose, and you did. I mean, I still give you credit.
Yeah, because I mean, again, at the end of the day, the game didn't matter to Festus as far as the overall picture.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, everybody wants to win that game. Absolutely. You don't go out there on the field to play to lose. You play to win. And Festus showed that they felt like at least for a quarter and a half, they could hang with a team of this caliber. Yep. And I think a lot of it goes credit to not only Williams, he didn't have his best game there, but that was by design. I think Jackson came in very intentionally looking to shut him down. But the one person they couldn't really deal with, at least for that little bit of time, was Parker Perry, the quarterback for Festus. And I think that young man, even being a junior, I mean, he's something to watch even moving forward as they get into the playoffs. And I think if this team really leans on him even a little bit more,
right,
they could be dangerous.
75% completion percentage cannot go unnoticed for a whole season. And when you're talking a guy throwing close to 175 attempts with 1 interception.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, you watch him on the move, on the throw. He's accurate, whether he's in the pocket, out of the pocket. I mean, there were 2 third and longs early in that game where they had that 12-play drive. He hit his receiver in stride for a first down. I mean, threaded it past some defenders. So it's like the talent is there for them. And I think it was a good litmus test for them facing Jackson like this. Because again, they're going to be able to go back and maybe, clean up a couple things here and there. But at the end of the day, I mean, man, I'm excited for Festus, but I'm also going, how do we get tickets to some of those Jackson games? Because that offense would rival, I think, some lower level collegiate teams.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're the number 1 seed going into that, so we'll have to take the trick. But let's real quick, we'll check out the other games here real quick. Pick a game that you thought that maybe stuck out to you. You thought might have been a surprise. We'll start with Matt.
Well, I had mentioned I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall for the Pius Valley game, and that really was, I think, everything. In my imagination, I was hoping it was going to be for Pius to hang in there at 14-7. The game, the game that I would want to talk about was the Hillsboro Poplar Bluff game. That seeing Hillsboro take one on the chin by 9 against at the time a 3-5 Poplar Bluff team, who both these teams had played Chaminade. Hillsboro lost to them 42-7. Poplar Bluff lost to them 14-7. So I knew this game was going to be close, but this was a game where I really thought this was a chance for Hillsboro to steal one away, as Poplar Bluff had lost to Farmington 40-19, and they had lost to Jackson 69-7.
Oh, wow.
So I thought this was a very open Poplar Bluff team to where Hillsboro could have snuck one out. But they took one on the chin. They go to 4-5, but they're in that whole mix now with the DeSoto's, Perryville's, Windsor's, DeSoto's, to where that whole Class 4 now muckety muck that we have going on.
Right.
But again, thanks to Herky for helping throw in wrench in a some of that dance as well too. But that would have been my game. But again, great job by Shaver in that game against Valley.
Cap.
Yeah, I mean, one that's just close to home for me, obviously, is going to be the Eureka game. I just always kind of keep track of them. I mean, obviously, Eureka's been that prototypical school that's always there. They're pumping out good talent, and I was interested to see kind of how they'd finish out the season. Obviously, not a lot on the line for them against Pattonville, which we knew they would probably. I think the surprise for me is the fact that Pattonville put up 25 points, which
I am the owner of the Craig Green fan club, right? So we do have that going, and I believe he had a decent game.
He did. And I mean, to me, I think the fun is as I love the battle between Eureka and Rockwood Summit.
Yeah.
And so if Summit can get past in this next round, there's going to be that return matchup where they're going to travel over to Eureka, and that'd be a fun one, obviously, to kind of be a fly on the wall at there to watch, because I think Summit has some revenge on their mind. They really want to get back to that. But I mean, you look at what Eureka's been able to do. I mean, they lost some of their key players early on in the season. They're starting to come back now, and so I'm really kind of interested to see now that like Kodak's back, and you're talking about.
I was just going to ask you, because you'd covered them, like you were their guy last year. That when I saw Kodak go down in week 1, and like for the next 7 weeks, I haven't seen him.
Right.
I just didn't know if there was any insight on if Kodak was going to be back or not, or if it was just going to be.
Yeah,
he makes his return at the playoffs, or
so he was back this past week, kind of not fully, I would say, back in limited action to a degree, but able to get back out there, and so that's big for them. I mean, give a lot of credit to Brandon Webb, who stepped in for them. Coming in, when I heard that, again, same thing, Kodak was down, I thought for sure that was going to be kind of like that thing that might just hurt Eureka all season,
right,
because I didn't think Webb could take on the amount of carries that Kodak typically does for that team. But a lot of credit to him for being able to step up and carry the load until he can get back. And so I think, obviously they're doing it kind of in the right way. They're getting healthy at the right time, which could be very, very dangerous for a lot of other teams waiting in the
Because Kodak
playoffs.
hasn't had 7 weeks of hitting and
Right.
banging
Yeah.
on him.
Right.
But because that was the other thing that we'd even talked about and we had touched on for a few weeks was Webb
Mhm.
came in and he wasn't just like, checking a box as a running back.
No.
Like we need a running back. He was more than serviceable to supplant what was lost with Kodak. Again, not saying he was a Trevor Kodak, but he was somebody that, when Coach Sumner rang his number up, we knew we had the confidence in him to do it, as opposed to, well, who else are we looking at the spot? So that's why I say when your number's called and you may not be the number one guy, if you can fill in more than admirably, your number's going to be called a lot. And I thought that was just a great job by Webb while Kodak was out.
Yeah, and I think he's earned himself, maybe even if you look at it as like a split back scenario. It's not a, 1 and B or 1 and 2 now. It's a 1A, 1B situation, which is infinitely harder for other teams to game plan around as well, because now you've got 2 guys that you have to contend with. And even if they choose to put them both in the backfield at the same time, how much trouble can that be trying to figure out who's going to get it and where it's going?
Absolutely. That does it for our review. My Lord, 36 minutes later, here we are. And, that's okay. So we'll be back with our player of the week. This is Upon Further Review.
Craving authentic Italian cuisine? Hi, this is Don Bollinger at the Pasta House Company in Festus. We're serving up happiness one plate at a time. From our made-to-order pasta dishes to our mouth-watering pizzas, everything is prepared with the finest ingredients. Try our fresh ground burgers, hearty lasagna, or our perfect appetizers. Happy hour every day with half-price pizzas and kids eat free every Sunday. Visit us at pastahouse.com to order online or for delivery on Highway A and Pounds Road, where it's always a great time.
It is now time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week, brought to you by the Pasta House Company. And this week we have on the line here our Player of the Week here, Cannon Kisner from the DeSoto Dragons here, quarterback from the DeSoto Dragons. Cannon, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Let me get your stats out because Dad sent me your stats, so it can't be wrong here. Cannon Kisner, on the quarterback side, just rushing, you were 17 carries for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions. Passing, you were 4 of 10 for 85 yards and a touchdown, 2 interceptions. But hey, it was a wild game. We'll get to that here in a second. And then I've got you down for a punt for 34 yards as well. So that to me is the more important thing, is making sure you got a decent punt there, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I like it. Big win over my Herky Black Cats. You beat them. And, it was a wild game. At the very beginning, Herky kind of slapped you guys in the face a little bit early, but you guys kind of made some second half adjustments. And I want to know what was said there during halftime from Coach Schmidt to kind of motivate you guys. And, you came out and just absolutely, just outworked the Herky Black Cats the second half. So take us through the game. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah. So started down. We started with the ball. Couldn't get anything going, and then we go into halftime. I think it was down by a touchdown. They got ball at half, and Schmidt was like, he literally told us like what we were going to do. He said we were going to kick it off, we were going to stop them, get the ball back, score, and do it again. And that's exactly what we did. And we game planned great at halftime. The coaches did great, moving some people around for what we had to do to stop them on offense.
Excellent. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I know that you're only a sophomore and everything, but is there thoughts about college down the road?
Yeah, that's the goal eventually, is to play at a college, but I haven't talked to any coaches yet, but there's still a lot of time for that.
Yeah, a little early on that, so I understand that. But cool. So you guys have your first round here. You're hosting North County. Get another rematch against the North County Raiders. Any thoughts on that game? Has Coach talked to you about very much of the game yet?
Yeah, we started game planning already. We played them week 3, lost by 1, but that was we're still we're still feeling everything out from just. I was still feeling everything out. Didn't have a great game, but I feel like us as a team has gotten a lot better throughout the weeks each week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I would probably say the most improved, maybe you guys and Herky, probably the two most improved teams since last season, especially. I think I was actually talking to Coach Schmidt about that pregame Friday night, and he's pretty happy with where things are at. So tell me a little bit about, real quick before I let you go here, tell me a little bit about what it was like to get to kind of get have Coach say, hey, you're going to be the number one quarterback here coming in as a sophomore. What was that like at the beginning of the season?
Well, last year, Austin Meese was the quarterback. He was a senior. Mm-hmm. And so that they put me on JV just to develop under him, just to be ready. So I kind of had the feeling that it was going to happen this year, and I just had to step in.
Has the team as a whole, have they taken to that, even though that you're a sophomore?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, I'm a sophomore, but I feel like developed Austin Meese helped me a lot and coached me, and I think that's helped me a lot throughout just learning from him.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on being Player of the Week here, and good luck to you this Friday.
Thank you.
It's Camden Kisner from the DeSoto Dragons. We're back with our honorable mentions, and they are as follows. From Grandview, Brock Poole, 7 rushes, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 50 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, and a partridge in a pear tree. The Herculaneums, Clark Struckoff, 24 rushes, 213 yards, 4 touchdowns, 9 tackles, and 1 tackle for a loss. You would have thought that would have been a win, but it wasn't. Crystal City's Ricardo Pastrana, Mr. Rico Pastrana, 16 rushes, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 tackles on defense. And we did mention there in our review there, the St. Pius defense held Valley only to 14 points. That's pretty impressive. So, guys, just your overall thoughts on maybe a couple of these guys here. We'll start with Cap.
For me, I mean, the one that stands out to me on honorable mentions is that St. Pius defense. I mean, to me, I know they didn't walk away with the win, but that is a win. That is something they can hang their hats on when you're talking about a program like Valley Catholic. And again, the offense that they're noted for, to be able to just hold them to 14 points, I think says something about how they're moving, and hopefully they can continue to build, and that becomes something for them that just catapults them into just, maybe a lucky win here or there, or just being able to build something and see success in what they were doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look up and down there. I mean, you could have had, Herky,
right.
DeSoto, Grandview, Crystal City. You could have had 5 honorable mentions, and it's all team efforts. That I don't think there's a wrong answer on any of those. That to where, I mean, the way Grandview handled business against Crystal City, but also Crystal City, I mean, the fight is still there.
Absolutely.
With the Hornets.
Yeah.
You look at the fight that Herculaneum had in their battle against DeSoto, to where again, no disrespect to the other games that were on the schedules, and not just trying to cherry pick games that we had done, but games that had meaning in standings, district, implications. Again, when you look at a St. Pius that is number 1 they were listed as number 2 because Caruthersville was 7-1, but you had
right.
a 4-4 Pius team, or actually that might be flipped. But it was because Pius was ranked ahead because of their strength of schedule.
Right.
Again, it was another team that all they're doing is playing Class 5, Class 6 teams. If you got an open date, because they're kind of like a free agent team anyway to a point, mm-hmm. Sign us up, let's play. So, yeah, when you're 4-4, well, why is Caruthersville 7-1 now that I got that math right? That's why you see Pius with, a 500 record at the time, and they're, in the mix with a team that's got a 7-1 record. So, and to hold Valley to 14, gosh, and to only lose 14-7.
Right. There you have it. We'll be back here with our district preview. We'll be right back. After Friday Night Blitz, check out the Friday Night Blitz postgame at 10 p.m. Our Friday Night Blitz announcers will catch up with coaches from around the area and grab some postgame interviews to cap off another Friday night football frenzy. That's the Friday Night Blitz postgame show at 10 p.m. on Livestream STL. We're back with our Week 10 schedule. And let's take a look, and we're going to try to buzz through this quickly and put up our brackets as well. So here we go. We don't have a ton of games this week because there's a lot of teams that are actually off on bye weeks. So we'll take a look that you can kind of see the frozen chosen here left here. New Madrid County Central at Jefferson. We will have that on Livestream STL Thursday night, Friday Night Blitz on a Thursday. That will be a 6 o'clock start, so everybody knows that is an early start there. John Burroughs will be at Herculaneum Friday night. That'll be on Livestream STL as well. We do not have a Livestream STL 2 or 3 game. Part of that is because we have some prior commitments with St. Louis Community College doing the volleyball, the Region 16 tournament, so we'll be over there as well on Livestream STL 2. East Prairie will be taking on St. Pius X. Sykeston will be at Hillsboro. Windsor travels to Perryville. North County travels to DeSoto, and Poplar Bluff goes to Fox. So, let's preview here real quick just our live stream SCL games real fast, and then we'll go through the brackets here. So, New Madrid County Central at Jefferson. And, Jefferson's kind of been down a little bit the last few weeks here, but I really feel like they might have a potential win here, against the New Madrid County Central, especially since they're hosting.
Right now, it's a flip a coin for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have not seen what New Madrid's record is to really
here in a minute.
have a stake in the game on this one. But I got to say right now, with just if you're an outsider playing Jefferson, this to me they're vulnerable, and that's about the best way for me to put it. That I think had they had a better showing the last at least 4 games of the regular season. At some point, I could have said, okay, you know what, I definitely could put my stamp on this one. But maybe it's something where that switch will flip with, you telling me it's like, week 10, week 1 of the playoffs. Maybe the script will change, but I would just say if somebody would tell me that Central New Madrid would defeat Jefferson, wouldn't shock me. If you told me Jefferson would win, wouldn't shock me either. But because at the end of the day, you're still going to have to face, the winner of the Pius, St. Vincent, and Caruthersville. So
yeah, and again, I'm with you. Not knowing a whole lot on the other side for Jefferson, it's just really is the right Jefferson team going to show up?
Right.
Because that's kind of been the Jekyll and Hyde situation for them this year. It's been some really, really good and some really, really bad in the mix. And so it's just, can they be disciplined, number one?
Mm-hmm.
Can they win the line of scrimmage? I think that's going to be the biggest thing in this game. And I know, sure, that's the token statement for every football game,
Sure,
but I think
sure.
it becomes vastly important in this game, especially with what Jefferson wants to do. If they control that line, I think they could get a win here. But they've got to clean up some of the penalties. They've got to clean up some of the mental mistakes that are there. Can't throw the ball away. I mean, sometimes I've watched this team play, and it's like, I don't know why you're throwing the ball there because there's nobody there but the defense. Mm-hmm. And it's like those type of things. If they clean those up, they can be a really dominant team. Yeah. They just have to make sure they take care of business on that side, and that's in practice preparing for this game.
Totally agree.
Interesting. John Burroughs and Herculaneum, thoughts?
Really, all I got to say is after being at Herky's last game against DeSoto on Friday, my heart goes out now because to me, I would have said had we talked about this Herky-Burroughs game 2 weeks ago, I would have said I'd take Herky in a heartbeat on this one.
I'm with you.
This now goes to the whole narrative of if there was a week for Herky to be vulnerable and for John Burroughs to sneak in, take one, this could be it. But I just say, as we were just talking about the other games, the winner of this game either way is going to have to face Valley.
Right.
At some point. So, I mean, whatever gauntlet you want to run through, I just say this, unfortunately, I think is the wrong week for Herky to be as decimated as they are because you don't want to if this is a way to go out, you don't want to go out like this, to where you've basically emptied every bullet in the chamber.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm with you. I mean, it's one of those, if Herky's going to pull the upset, especially if Reeves is not back in, it's going to be super struck off.
That's what it would be.
And
yes.
and he's going to have to do it with the other team knowing that's what's coming as well.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Let's go through our brackets real quick, real fast, and we'll start with
try.
Class 1, District 2. Grandview on top there, the number 1 seed. And I tell you, man, they earned that. No doubt about that. And well-deserved,
Yep.
yeah. So Van Far at 2, Crystal City at 3, Veritas Christian Academy at 4, Louisiana at 5. They get all 3 of these here, the top 3, they earn the first round bye. So, we won't see them until next week to see how they fare. But real quick thoughts, both of you guys, real quick.
I like seeing Van Far, Crystal City, to where you set up a round 3 of a Grandview and Crystal City. You know what? As they say, sometimes, when you're on one side, you're like, I don't want to see a rematch. I'm telling you right now, if
That'd be a good one.
you give me a Rico Pastrana, you give me a DeRoos, that I'm sure they're chomping at the bit.
Right.
They're not really looking ahead, but I'm guaranteeing you they got a little circle right here
Yeah.
on a rematch with the Grandview Eagles.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing, not to just overburden. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the rematch that comes to pass right there from that bracket.
Very hard to win 2 times against the same team the same year. Here we go, Class 2, District 1. You have Caruthersville on top there. You have St. Pius X ranked 2nd there. They're going to be taking on East Prairie this week. Jefferson takes on New Madrid County Central there for the 4 and 5 matchup. St. Vincent taking on Kelly. We have the bit, probably the gist that it would be that Vincent's going to beat Kelly more than likely. Pius will probably beat East Prairie.
They should, since East Prairie's 1-8.
Okay, yeah, so that should be a nice one there. But hey, it's one of those things. Do not overestimate,
Right.
or underestimate, I should say.
Don't
Don't
look
underestimate.
You're right.
It's the playoffs. Jefferson again, Central, and so I mean, what are your thoughts here in this Class 2 District 1?
I'm looking at the rematch here, or the setup with Pius and St. Vincent. I think that's where the trouble's going to lie at. Whether you're Jefferson, whether you're Central New Madrid, whether you're Caruthersville, because Central and Jefferson's going to play Caruthersville. The winner of then that game would play the winner of either St. Pius and St. Vincent. So, and yes, not to jump ahead too far, but I'm just saying. You've got a tough road to hoe right there in that Class 2 District 1 if you're a team, say, like a Jefferson, because you got some staunch opponents that are lying in your wake.
Yep.
Yeah, can I just say ditto? Because that would be the easiest response
Yeah,
there on
you go.
that. I mean,
Awesome.
it's just that
That's
simple.
probably what Ray wants.
We will let you say ditto so we can move on to the next one here. Here we go. Class 3 District 2, the gauntlet that is Valley Catholic, their number 1 seed. Live for Life 2. Hey, they are no
Right.
slouch. 3 there, St. John. They're going to be taking on Normandy Friday. Live for Life taking on Lutheran South. Herculaneum taking on John Burroughs. Thoughts?
I mean, really, this is Valley's to lose.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, Live for Life could surprise
They could.
in that aspect, but I think obviously if Valley just does what they've done for the majority of the season, I think they're going to come out on top.
There you go. Moving right along here, Class 4, District 1. This is the other gauntlet here. I think the next 3 are gauntlets here, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it just kind of is what it is. But Festus on top here. Perryville, number 2. That's a little surprising. DeSoto 3, Hillsboro 4, Sykeston 5, North County 6, Windsor 7. And obviously we probably all think it's Festus's to lose here, but some interesting matchups could happen along the way.
We'll see. Well, this is where the fact that DeSoto beat Perryville and Hillsboro and could have the luxury of wanting to bump up a ranking in the district.
Yeah.
To where that's where I was saying to some of the fans and to where it would make sense for DeSoto to bump up anyway because they're going to be hosting a playoff game anyway.
Right.
The only difference would be is, do I want to play North County or do I want to play Windsor, I suppose. But seeing the way you've got Windsor at Perryville, I'm going to have to there's some sort of bugaboo in the air about going to Perryville for teams that I don't get it, but
Yeah.
But I will say this though, if you hold Wheeler in check. That seems to be your thing to do, and if you can do it, because the two teams that have held Wheeler in check to less than 100 yards, I would give you $1 if you could name me the two teams, but it's Grandview and DeSoto.
Right. Who would have thought?
To where you're like,
yeah.
okay.
Wow.
But I've seen Windsor up and close. If Freeman can keep the ball away from Perryville, limit their touches, Windsor's just got as good a shot to beat them as anybody.
Right.
Same on this North County DeSoto game. To me, that's almost like talking about that Herky DeSoto game, to where I think I'm not going to take that DeSoto defense, and if Kisner, I'm not going to take the DeSoto defense lightly, but if Kisner has a game like he did against Herculaneum, where all of a sudden the stars decide to come out and shine brightly, I don't see why DeSoto couldn't win that game. But my prediction is in round 3, Festus and DeSoto.
Ooh, there you go. I like it.
Go.
Interesting.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
me, it's none other than really, I think Festus owns this. I mean, as long as they play their game, I don't think anybody's, on their level at this point in the season.
Ditto. There you go. All right. Class 5, District 1. This one's going to be a fun one here, too. So you got Farmington on top. You got Cape Central there at 2. You've got Webster Groves at 3. Fox 4. Poplar Bluff 5. Miller Career 6. And Melville 7. So you have Farmington and Cape Central will probably run away with this, I would imagine. So that's who we find on November 14th. That's my prediction, and put a stamp on it.
Well, because really the only team that to me that I saw in this was Fox, and they really have had a hard time finding their way out of a wet paper bag.
But they did win this week. They did win this week against Clayton.
Yeah. They're going to be playing Poplar Bluff though, so I'm going to call Poplar Bluff. Moving on, and that's the way Class 5 is going to shake out.
Yeah,
least for that first
nothing to add to that, because it is exactly what you said, Ray. Ditto, right back at you, so you can throw
Thank
another
you.
one at me later.
Thank you. This is how we roll here, folks. All right, last one here, Class 6, District 1. Well,
Okay. I
Do we-
thought we had Class 5 District 2 with Summit and Eureka, but
nope, we don't.
Nope. Okay.
Do you want to mention it real quick? I'll let you mention it
I'm
real,
just going to
real
go to
fast.
round 3. I would
Round
love
3,
to.
go ahead.
I would love to do the Kirkwood Eureka.
Take
game.
2. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. Kirkwood Eureka.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing, and the surprise of all of this, and I will say it out there, is depending on what Summit team shows up, they could make some noise in this bracket. I think ultimately, you're right. It's going to end up probably Kirkwood, and then Eureka is kind of the battle that you're really looking forward to. But do not sleep on Rockwood if they can figure some things out.
All right. Well, let's go back to the last one here. Class 6, District 1. Do we need to say anything else about Jackson? Let's don't for right now.
Really
okay?
don't, no.
We don't. But, because of the loss, now Northwest has to go to Seckman next week. So that'll be an interesting one back there at Jaguar Nation. But
Rematch.
The rematch of Seckman Northwest next week. Jackson sits out and watches Oakville and Lindbergh play. And, Lindbergh's struggling this year, but we'll see an Oakville Jackson. They'll take a trip down to Jackson and have a lot of fun with that. But, any craziness that you think could end up happening out of this, guys?
Well, you know what and this is not saying Northwest didn't have a good showing against Oakville, but I mean to the sense that if Northwest could have figured out how to get the win in that, because initially on paper I really wanted to see this Northwest Seckman rematch based on Northwest having the fight against Oakville, to where, because the whole season really for me was that 9-minute window against Seckman, to where to me that was that one little box, to where if you took that out of the equation, Northwest season was virtually impeccable. And seeing how tough that game was against Oakville now takes me back to, you're going to be playing Seckman again at their place again. What did we learn from it? What did we gain from playing Oakville now before we play them? To where I had a tip of the cap to Northwest, but I see Seckman gaining a victory in this one, to where you've got a Jackson Seckman rematch down the road. But as bad as I want to see a Northwest Jackson game,
Ooh.
that I would.
Yeah.
I would take a live stream STL road trip down to the pit.
Hey. He's volunteering, folks.
That's right.
Just saying, because as everybody knows, that I was a play-by-play guy for Jackson.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
When
Yep,
they went
yep.
to state in '94. So, yes, one of the few play-by-play guys in the area that's actually been to Columbia and all that good stuff. So Jackson still has my heart. But I just got to say that, honestly, if anybody wants to make the trip down to Jackson, it is worth it, because that trip to the pit,
Something else, isn't it?
I get the goosies talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that good.
There you
All right,
go.
I'm going to throw a wrench in all of this. I mean,
Do it.
I really
Here
think
goes.
that, you said it
Bold
earlier.
predictions for
That's
Jackson's
right.
going to lose on their bye week.
No, that's not the bold. Okay. I really did wish that
Jackson comes down with the measles. That's the only way they're going to lose.
That is
They gotta
true.
forfeit.
So there you go.
I was in the same boat. I was really hoping that Northwest would have pulled that game out, because I wanted to see a playoff environment in the Lions' Den, especially with the success they've had this season. And so it's unfortunate that that's probably not going to happen for them in this regard. But I think because it is that second time you play a team in the same season,
Right.
I think they have a chance even at Seckman, and I think they pull the upset. And it is
Hey.
your Northwest Jackson, where Northwest has to travel down.
Just to go back to that thought, playing a team twice in a season, normally it's like, you play one at each other's place, but this is
Yeah.
going to be Northwest going to Seckman, like the place where the accident happened.
Yep.
They're revisiting the site. So I almost don't know how much, again, I just say it's what did we learn?
Yep.
Yep.
What did we gain? What did we learn? And then that little toe stubbing once again against Oakville. How do we digest that and process it? Did that set us back a notch, or did we gain anything from that to be like, aha, okay, this is what we need to do? I don't.
And I think it'll be a one-score game. I think it comes down to who has the ball last for that Northwest Seckman. But I think that Northwest is going to get the edge this time, and we get to see it. So
Bold
that's
prediction.
just me.
Bold prediction from the BCAP. How about that? That does it for Upon Further Review. Don't forget to check out our website, livestreamstl.tv, and our Roku app. Just search Livestream STL on your Roku TV or your Roku sticks. For all of us here at Livestream STL and Upon Further Review, that would be BCAP, Matt Bates, and myself. Have a wonderful evening.
Be a good human.
Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.